You need to start looking at facts, not PR.
Okay, all right. I love it when people tell me about facts because it's only been my occupation for the last 40 plus years. But Lee, thank you for the guidance. If you could send me on a correspondence course, I'd be really grateful for principles of journalism.
You cannot have an influx of people from a different culture, different set of, and they're going to have no impact on your country.
Well, it doesn't matter about the. I mean, it's just you've got to provide for them, irrespective of what culture they're from.
You've got to have schools, extra schools, hospitals, housing. The impact is immense. It really is. I come from I spent about 19 years in a small town in the east of England, and we had an influx of people from Eastern Europe. And it definitely had an impact, a negative impact in most cases, to be honest, because these people, they've come to improve their lives, and they will do so at any cost.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if they can't get jobs and housing is not available, they will achieve their aim, come whatever, whether it's through illegal means or other means. They will. They've got to survive, these people.
I hear what you're saying. I mean, let's confess that there are we have homegrown lawbreakers as well. That is not peculiar to this country, but I do know this is the pressure, of course, if you don't regulate the numbers, this is the pressure that can be wrought on certain communities.
I come from Uganda. I was born in Uganda. And if you look at the refugee situation in Uganda, you'll be amazed the amount of people that are from different countries. When I grew up in Uganda, you could never see a foreigner. You'll never see anybody from anywhere else. But now, if you went back to Uganda, especially where I grew up from in Kampala, it's like in a different country.
What? Sorry, I'd love to go to your country. I've never been. What do you mean it's like a different country? Just break that down a bit for me.
There's a high influx of refugees.
From where?
So obviously from Somalia, from Eritrea, from Sudan.
And are there? What is that? What's the impact been on your former home country?
I mean, the impact for me is positive. For me, the impact is positive because obviously these people, they've come in, they've made it their own country. I don't know if they're citizens, but they've built businesses, they've built houses, and everything seems to be running quite smoothly. And the locals are they're not really bothered by refugees. They are not really stressed about refugees. I mean, nothing is changed in terms of the crime. Everything is exactly the same. It's just that it's different people from different countries.
And how would you see Britain, if you were asked what Britain's reaction was to refugees, if someone from your original home country of Uganda were to ask you that question, what would you say, Eric?
I think Britain is a very welcoming country, and it welcomes absolutely everybody. But I think we're focusing on a small number of people that are coming in illegally compared to other countries. If you look at Uganda, it's one of the highest countries of refugees.
Okay. Lastly, on this, people say we have to focus because if people are arriving, we need to build hospitals, we need doctors' surgeries, we need roads, we need what's called the infrastructure, Eric. Isn't that true? That's why we need to know how many people are coming here?
Yeah, that's very true. But the people that are coming in, they're actually youth and young men and women. They don't really need a lot of health care. They don't. Well, some of them have degrees from their countries, and they will help in this country.
They will, undoubtedly, but a lot of them have children, and the children need to be educated, and of course they need healthcare, they need to be inoculated and looked after and whatever else. I remind you again, go to the United States, go to France, go to Australia, go to these countries that have had or that are experiencing these issues. It's not uniquely British. Now, Suella Braverman is the British Home Secretary who's saying the convention needs... She's not saying scrap it. It needs a review. She's right.
She's not right, Vic. For goodness sakes, you're one in 146 nations, okay?
Yeah, I don't know what you're not listening to. I've already explained. I'll try again. France has these issues. Australia has had these issues. The United States have these issues. I know she's the first Home Secretary. I don't think she's on her own calling for a review.
And she is on her own, Nick. She's absolutely on her own.
She's on her own now, but I don't know if she's on her own in saying that it needs a review. I'm sure if you were able to get a conversation going with her counterparts in Australia to look at it, yes.
No. Look at the current Australian government.
Right, okay,
The previous Australian government wasted £4 billion on a failed policy they cancelled, Nick. All right? You need to start looking at facts, not PR.
Okay, all right. I love it when people tell me about facts because it's only been my occupation for the last 40 plus years. But Lee, thank you for the guidance. If you could send me on a correspondence course, I'd be really grateful for principles of journalism.
The numbers that have crossed the channel here this year are 45,000. They are the numbers that people here in Britain are concerned about. And for think tanks to be sort of trying to suggest to our public that there are 780 million people on the move, with the implication that they're all coming here.
I've not said they're coming here, Sonya.
No, you haven't, Nick. But that is the intent behind this fear-mongering. And I think
you're an intelligent woman. We've spoken many times in the past. Something that was designed in 1951 in the wake of the Second World War, principally to resettle people who were displaced all over Europe. It does need a review.
I mean, we would argue not.
So
freedom from
something made
torture
in
is one of the largest.
1951 is still fit for purpose. You wouldn't run a car, you wouldn't run a fridge, you wouldn't run anything from 1951. Come on, it needs a review.
Most of our international laws have served the test of time. And as an organisation that works with survivors of torture, people who have braved the most incredible journeys to try to reach safety here in Britain, it is so important that they continue to have avenues for seeking safety. And I really want to impress this, Nick. The government has just, through the Illegal Migration Act, blown a hole through the Refugee Convention through the back door. And now, by going over to Washington and saying that the treaty needs to be torn up, rewritten, she's trying to do through the front door what she's already done through the back door, which is to destroy an international system that was created to make us a safer world.
But lastly, surely it is open to abuse. I can arrive from a certain country and say, I can't go back because I'm gay. You have no way of proving whether I'm gay or not, and I get to stay.
It is
That
absolutely
can't be
not
right.
the case that you can just turn up in Britain and claim to be a refugee. There is an unbelievably rigorous test that needs to be passed. And
What do I have to test to show?
torture,
What test is applied to when I say I'm gay?
You need to demonstrate that you face a real risk of persecution.
Yeah, I come from a country
because
where
you are
gay people are... But yeah, absolutely I do, yeah.
And you need to be
Saudi.
able to demonstrate that personally you are at risk. And that's why we
Well, how
treat
do I
men
show
as
I'm
fighters
gay,
of torture.
Sonya?
I mean, you would be alarmed to understand the level
Tell me.
of
I mean, obviously there might
probing
be
that the Home
young
Office
ears
does.
listening, but what do I have to do?
We have clients who are being asked to, show documentary evidence proving their sexuality. It is an unbelievably
Pictures of me with some
invasive system.
male mates. All right, there we go.
Nick, if only it was as simple as that.
Well, go on.
from the
What
point
is
of
it?
view
I
of
mean, they're
someone
not going to
being
want pictures of me in the act, are they? So what do they need to see?
I mean, correspondence with lovers,
Fine.
all sorts of invasive
I'll get someone to
things.
write me a letter.
Nick, this is an issue on which many Conservative MPs, for example, are absolutely aghast.